Will your financial foundation stand strong in a storm? Rich in Good offers wisdom for true wealth so that you can construct a solid foundation to richly enjoy all stages of your life. We talk about finance and faith that'll help you find meaning in money. Discover how to make money matter so that you can be rich in good.
Hearty word of welcome to another episode of Rich in Good. Hi, Annie.
Hi, Willem.
Episode 9, and we've been journeying for a couple of months now, where we have wonderful conversations about not just money, but the deeper meaning of money. So, if we were to just look back to the episode that we recorded 2 weeks ago, we emphasized the importance of the growth process. Do you want to read this quote by Ron Blue?
Yes, sure. Remember, growth is a process, not a once and for all. Jesus wants students who listen to him, not grown-up graduates who don't need him anymore.
Students, I mean, that's what it means to be a disciple of Jesus, an apprentice of his in kingdom living. And Ron Blue said many years ago that if you want to understand money, and you want to correctly understand it, you must understand the process of discipleship. So money is about discipleship. Right, so, and we want to honor Ron Blue, especially what we've learned from him in his Master Your Money book. So really recommend reading the book. So in essence, we also learned 2 weeks ago that God uses money and material possessions in our earthly lives during this growth process that you referred to as a tool, a test, and a testimony. If you've missed that episode, you can just look on our podcast platform, on the Spotify, iTunes, other channels, but also on YouTube. And just, I think that was a very profound session. So we're going to continue in Jesus' parable on the talents in Matthew 25, and we've read some of the early verses from verse 14. So I'd like to encourage you just to go and read the whole parable. But he's going to read verses 20 and 21, and then verses 22 and 23. But I want you to carefully listen, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're watching via YouTube on the screen, carefully look for similarities between verses 21 and verses 23. So you can read this for us.
So from verse 20, and he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master.
Okay, so just sort of hold verse 21 in memory, and let's go to verses 22 and 23. Of Matthew 25.
22 is, and he also who had the 2 talents came forward, saying, Master, you have delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master.
So, how will you compare verses 21 to 23?
Yeah, I think, obviously exactly the same.
Yeah.
Irrespective of how much was entrusted to them, it's just they were faithful with what they had.
Yeah. So the remark of the master on the servant who doubled the 5 talents, as opposed to the servant who doubled the 2 talents, is exactly the same. They all get the well done, good and faithful servant. So I think the important lesson here is the amount you have is unimportant. What is important is how you handle what have been entrusted to you. That is what is very, very important. So this basically leads to the third principle that we learn from this parable. The first one was?
So God owns it all.
The second one?
We are in a growth process.
And now the third one?
The amount is not important.
Okay. Very important that we take note of that. People think that stewardship is only for very wealthy people. Stewardship is for everybody. Sure. We must steward our resources. And I mean, we've said it many, many times. It can be treasure, it can be talent, it can be all kinds of things, relationships, networks, time. Right, so when people look at faith and finances, I've seen over many years a tendency either to the one side where there's a lot of emphasis on prosperity, almost a prosperity sort of health and wealth, kind of gospel. It's almost like name it, claim it, frame it. And then on the other side, a false sense of spirituality that's linked to poverty. In other words, the poorer that I am, the more spiritual I am. And what Ron Blue says, that he believes that neither of these two extremes are right, and they're not reflective of what God says. God neither condemns wealth on the other side, neither does he commend poverty, or the other way around, so vice versa. The principle found in Scripture is this very important principle, is that he owns it all. So if you've missed the episode, two episodes back, just go and listen. I think it was episode 7. Yeah. So maybe you can read this quote from Ron.
Yeah, so therefore, whatever he chooses to entrust you with, hold with an open hand, allowing him to entrust you with more if he so chooses, or allowing him to take whatever he wants.
So if we've got an open hand, we can receive from God, but we can also very easily give to him. So the open hand is that posture is very important. And the reason is all is his. So, to sort of hold it in a clenched fist, not only are you withholding it from people who may need it, or wherever God commands you to give, but you also basically hindering to receive if God wants to entrust you with more. I think that's a very nice way of looking at it. So that is the attitude he wants you to develop, still Ron Blue speaking here. And whatever you have, little or much, your attitude should remain the same. So it's about your heart and your attitude in this. So we've anchored this podcast series, Rich in Good, in a very specific verse in 1 Timothy 6:18. And if you can just remind us of that verse.
Yes, so God says, command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. So how does it look to be rich in good deeds? You must be generous and willing to share. That's the open hand, the sharing mindset. So it must be like a month and a half ago now, we had the launch of our Advisors for the Nations movement at Hippo Lakes in the Bushveld, in the Waterberg area, close to Valwater. And it was a wonderful experience just to have advisors with us. And these are not just financial advisors, also attorneys, accountants, fund managers, all people who sit across a table, with a client and give advice on money matters. So, Henny, you attended that launch of the movement, maybe some reflections from you. Yeah, it was a very exciting time. I think the idea coming out of this is just for us as advisors to be able to stand together, to be there for each other, to keep each other accountable, and I think learn from each other. So I would really like to encourage any advisor in any essence just to make contact with us, info@rig.ac, or give us a call, 086 1221 777. And we've purposefully gone out and joined groups together, study groups that we want everyone to get involved in, that we can spend together at least once a month and just learn from both people in the industry, but also learn from each other.
Yeah, that time of fellowship is a very rich time. And we've experienced that during the conference, and hopefully we can host another conference next year in October, and we'll share some more details. But if you reach out to us either on the email that Henny shared or want to talk to us with a phone number, please do so, because we want you to form part of this movement, join this movement, find out how you can join and also how you can form part of one of these study groups. Right? Great talking to you. Remember, it's not the amount that counts. It is your heart and your attitude in the way that you steward this. Thank you, Henny.
Thank you, Willem.
Till next time.